As I've been saying for years, the bottom line is everyone came from Africa, and there were different natural martial arts, war arts. Even the Asians have said that martial arts began when man started studying the animals. He started studying the animals in Africa, and different groups of people were expelled and left for various reasons. And over time, those who were more from the Light Temple were screened out in those various cultures. And we have examples of eunuchs um, in the Qing Dynasty, in Europe as well. And in different places, they had different methods of shunning people and keeping them from reproducing because they expressed genes that were too much like Narmares, tall and skinny people especially. That's why I came across this meme that said, if you are 6'2", you're taller than 94% of the world. Well, why is that? Because the people who were taller, who went out to teach people martial arts, and the people who were smaller, who studied that under them, who were less smart, ended up taking over their martial arts schools all over the world. Okay, and so now we see that they try to lure people out because of their genetics. Right? When you're taller, you don't approve of this kind of shorter. We look at the evolutionary thing, right? The shorter man acting like a savage, digging tunnels, raping people, right, and abusing people. And if you're in a tunnel, you're going to get stronger. So even if you manage to get taller and suppress your opponent's belief system, you're going to get stronger as you get taller and not be as coordinated because you're not as evolved. So when we look at this thing, Africa is the most diverse continent. Not all black people are from the Light Temple. In fact, almost all of them aren't. I basically am where it ends. The pure Light Temple ends with me. These people rather have chosen different directions, different ideas, different pets, right? Prophet, Propet, Sobek, hippos, Set. You see the women trying to pretend they're goddesses. They choose different ideas, right? Nefertiti, Neith, and Bast, and Nephthys and Isis in terms of the European perspective of Isis. Anything that is compatible with this kind of wolf pack viper mentality, jackal mentality, is what we see being expressed in society. Again, I can't express to you enough. It is over. I've put on the screen the Lexicon information so you can see for yourself, because I know a lot of you perhaps aren't going to look it up. How that proves that the words and the knowledge, the phonetics, the different expressions of ideas and are coded in the languages, and it's part of the secret society knowledge. We hear about Masonic wordplay and things of this nature all the time, and symbolism and symbols that are hidden in plain view, and a letter is a symbol, and we can go on and on and on. Okay. So when we think about Canaan and honor, right? Genes and genes, suitable helper. What was the message of the story in the Bible with Noah? The message is Canaan saw Noah when he was looking bad. And just like a servant that saw his master doing something he wasn't supposed to do, he's now stigmatized and ostracized. And anyone he could teach the story to is stigmatized and ostracized. Thus the Canaanites came. We talk about genes and genes, right? Levi's genes, the Levites, Anton LaVey, and some guy named Levi. I forgot his first name. These things aren't important. You can look it up yourself if you care. Genesis, right? The genes of Isis, as Jordan Maxwell has pointed out. I'd say that's a pretty appropriate explanation when you consider that it's talking about families in there, and it brings up Set replacing Abel. Okay, so we can talk about genes, a gene as E-nose, right? The Negroid nose versus the E-nose. I actually have the E-nose. I have kind of elf ears. So a lot of what I'm saying also covers the genes, some of the genes that I have. The difference is my dad was from Ham. He was from the Light Temple, so to speak, Eri in Biafra. He was from a small group of people in the Igbos who was actually loyal to the Light Temple generation after generation. And at the end of the day, those genes dominated, even though my face is different. But everywhere else in the world, we see black people who aren't from the Light Temple taking other races as wives. And we see the black women being taken by people from other races and people from other temples within the black race. So people are literally bred to be, to live by fear and to have proclivities toward crime and evil. And where we see eugenicists operating the most, We see the largest prison population for one of two reasons. One, their genes that show proclivities toward evil have expressed themselves too much. Or two, they were whistleblowers, they were some kind of revolutionaries, whether they were doing things evil or not. And most of these guys are evil. They're doing the revolution for selfish reasons. But sometimes the reasons have to do with oppression and things that, and reproduction, things that really piss off the oppressor. So we look at Isis, right? Isis means seat, right? The heart is the seat of intelligence. So they redefine intelligence in terms of the baby, right? Babel, baby, L, babe, L, right? Baby, L, okay? So they redefine the heart as the seat of intelligence. The heart is the seat of intelligence. They redefine the reason why that is, right? In terms of intellect, being a builder, right? Being cunning, the principle of evil. So he who embodies the principle of evil the most is somebody who would like blow up the world if evil didn't have their way, as a matter of principle, right? Not because they're virtuous and honorable and they're down for their cause, but because it's their nature to be a snake. You stepped on them and they bite you. Okay? It goes back to, the yoga, twisting, people looking at things in terms of flexibility and presentation. This is a snake idea. Choking someone out, chokeholds, snake, suffocation, and so on. Isis means seat. Remember, and the genes of Isis and baby horse and the Khan whore and becomes Serapis. So we see that there are two sort of trinities in the Bible. There is Isis, Ra, and Set. El as the Canaanite god Set. Okay, this is the kind of trinity of the Old Testament is one way to look at it. Isis, Ra, and Set. Okay, but it's Ra redefined as Apis and not the cat of Heliopolis, which is, the leopard on the standard. It represents the lion on the standard, because the true king of the jungle in the martial arts sense is a combination of things that, the vantage point, the leopard climbing the tree, striking down, and so on. Striking down your enemies, the taller person is naturally superior, the hawk striking down, and so on. So Ra is God, okay? But so in the New Testament, it can be seen as Ra redefined as Hades and Pluto, and Osiris as the spirit, and Apis as the sun. As Horus was said to be the living, the pharaoh living was Horus, and in death was Osiris. Osiris was green, and this has to do with Apep taking on the form of Amen. And Amen Ra, after I believe the Assyrians raided in like 663 BC or something like that, right? Metal is coming into play here, that's when really the fate of Africa was sealed. And that was the last place that was holding out against the forces of darkness. We have sporadic resistance over time, but they get screened out, So we see the Jews before Amen usurped. Then, Amen was the usurper, and then Osiris and the Assyrians come in. So they had created a system already of usurping everyone, and it was easy for Osiris to become the dominant deity after that, because Amen had already set the stage of kind of neutering and emasculating every temple, which was already doing the wrong thing anyway, because they weren't in the spirit of Haru reproducing. So we see the temple of Set, the Ashkenazi Jew Michael Aquino, okay, in San Francisco, and that goes back to Apep is Amen, right? People, a peep, right? Peep game, a peeping Tom, okay? These people have their surveillance state. And they're watching people change. They're watching people shower in prison. They're watching people go to the bathroom on the yard, and so on, right? Apep is Amen, right? And there are other ways to design prisons, mind you. A lot of people don't think of it in those terms. People, peep, L, Amen, change color. Okay, so Amen, Amen, Apep, people. So the people were redefined in the idea of Apep, the snake in the garden, the tree of knowledge, Min, chemists. The Min, Mont, Amen, Mont, the bull of his mother, I believe. Either Mont or Apis, but it's the same idea. When you cut off somebody's dick, they can't take a piss. So as I was saying, the eunuch idea comes from the temple of Apis, among other things. Okay. And what we see here in this picture on the screen, I'm just going to put it briefly, go back to the lexicon stuff. This is the, under Wikipedia showed me the eunuch from the Qing dynasty, the Qing, and this kid has this disturbed look on his face, right? They literally cut off this kid's penis for having the wrong genes. okay? And we see eunuchs, and they have wizard hats and stuff like that, right? These are like the original wizards or something is one way to look at it. Merlin was taught by the eunuchs or something like that, right? You know, they have these pointy hats and so on, and they have these kind of wizard-like robes on. And these are the black guys who were castrated in Europe to keep them from breeding while stealing their ideas and trying to learn from them, because this was the natural direction of humanity, and they're trying to mimic it and study it and see how they can apply it to their quote-unquote civilizations. Because remember, the Europeans were nomadic, barbaric peoples, you know, for better or worse, mixing with Neanderthals and stuff, you know, tunnel people. And the scientists have found tunnels that go, you know, in Scotland and all over Turkey and so on and so forth. Extensive tunnels that are said to extend all the way, you know, I guess under the sea or under the, you know, ocean or something. I don't know, you know, but that's what the article said. And one way or another, you know, they were civilized by Africans who, you know, civilized the peoples around them. You know, Mediterranean, the Babylonians, the fishermen. We went over that in other videos. There was the fisher people, the Africans, the Temple of Haru type people. You had the farmers and the cattle herders. Okay, so they in turn civilized these other people, who in turn, in the spirit of evil, spread civilization. And we see Roman treachery. The story, even in the Bible, the Romans crucified Jesus. Okay, and that goes back to the Lexicon wordplay. It's on the screen, so I'm not going to go over it again. Basically, Biblion, Bible, word book, knowledge of a branch of knowledge, of or for words, right? And it goes back to, you know, the wordplay I went over in the other video. Okay, so cerebral and cerebus, right? Dog as their God, right? God is dog backwards, because these people have been trained to feel fear or to be evil. Right, to be afraid to stand up to these people or to indulge in evil. If you look at secret societies carefully, and you look at the gang stalkers carefully, if you're somebody who's being gang stalked, you'll see different looks in their eyes. Some of these people are afraid, and some of these people are indulging in evil. And you can tell, if you really look carefully, which one is which. Okay, and that's a matter of sensing evil. Okay, and martial artists hone their senses. All right, so I wrote some stuff down in the speech. I got angry the other day. I ended up not putting this up. So, what is a child that isn't raised in the divine order? Not a child of God. And what is a child that is not raised by his father? Not his father's son. Therefore, Horus the younger is the hawk of his mother, like Mont is the bull of his mother. Amen, usurping his power. Falcon-headed Mont to redefine Pharaoh. Okay, and that leads us to Apis and Serapis, right? They're trying to take on these aspects of Horus, and they assign it to the bull. Okay. Too many men. Oh, okay. Man manning up in the spirit of their mother is being bossy. Okay. So to accept their son is to accept evil. One way to look at it is the deadbeat father, right? The dead are beat. The people of the West, Osiris's realm, were said to be the dead. When you reject that bitchy woman you shouldn't have had a baby with, when you reject that child, it is a form of manning up, because you're rejecting the spirit of evil. To become part of that family and to find your life here and so on, and to get a job and so on, you're supporting this wicked family. You're being allowed to raise them and so on and so forth. You know, the appropriate way to do things is to train your family to be ready to die for what you believe. And even that is seen in the Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death. It's give me the spirit of God or give me death, which is above the idea of liberty, which is simply being allowed to do things within the constraints of the God of this world, so to speak. Thank you.